I keep on dancing for talking on a club to drink right now. Dressing up, shake it, baby. Come on and show me how you work. Now you're in motion, boy. Now you gotta do the locomotion.
Hey folks, we're back with this great surprise of an interview. Well, not so much of a surprise, but it's really truly an honor to have this gentleman, WWE Hall of Famer, Mouth of the South, Jimmy Hart, on the line. Jimmy, what's going on, sir?
Everything's beautiful. You know, my good friend Sal Corrente called me. He's got a big show coming up, of course, during WrestleMania time called WrestleCon. And he said, Jimmy, would you do me a favor? And I said, whatever you want, Big Sal, because he's been such a good friend of mine. He wanted me to call your show, which I am, and I'm glad I did. Bruno San Martino's going to be in New York. I think along the same time they're going to have WrestleMania this year for WrestleCon for Sal Corrente, along with one of the Spice Girls, listen to me, along with one of the the Nitro girls, Spice. I feel like an elephant sitting on my tongue. Woo!
Well, since you brought the name up, before we get started with you, do you think Bruno should go in and work out some sort of deal to go into the Hall of Fame?
You know what? I really don't know. You know, I try not to get involved really with a lot of the politics on that and everything. I know one thing. I was glad in 2005 when I got inducted, and it was the biggest thrill of my life. I wear my ring every day, and I think it's a great honor for whoever they wanted the Hall of Fame. It's such a great honor. I know it's a great honor for me, I'll tell you
that. That is definitely the truth for sure. But actually, for most people that don't know, which then again I'm sure the true wrestling fan has heard the story time and time again, you actually got your start in music before wrestling with the Gentrys and Keep On Dancing.
Absolutely.
What was that, right out of high school for you?
Well, you know what? We were right out of high school and in high school really, and we had a chance to do some music with the gentleman just came to town named Chip Smallman, who was a friend of George Klein, George Klein was a friend of Elvis Presley, but George Klein was a big DJ, kind of like Bubba Love Sponges in Tampa, and kind of like in Orlando, you got the Monsters in the Morning, and with Russ and those guys. And so George was kind of like those guys back in that era, you know, like the number one show in the morning. So he saw us, and we went in and cut a song for him, and the next thing you know, we had a $1 million seller record and touring with the Beach Boys and Sonny and Cher, and it was Dick Clark.
Yeah. Well, speaking of the Beach Boys, I think they just wrapped up their 50th anniversary tour, which is just amazing if you think about it.
It is unbelievable. Sure. Yeah, unbelievable for those guys to be around so many years, and I love the Beach Boys. I love their songs. I still love their songs. They're timeless.
You are not kidding, that's for sure. Well, did the actual music get you hooked up with Lawler, Jerry Lawler, who was a couple years younger than you in high school?
Yeah, absolutely. We all went to school together. He went into wrestling, I went into music, and then as we came off tour a few years later, they asked, his people asked, could we go in and could I sing backup on one of their albums that they were doing? And I said, I'd love to. And the next thing you know, Jerry and I became really, really, really good friends. And a couple of years later, I was managing him in Memphis, Tennessee. And, of course, after that, the rest was history. I was on their TV down there for about 5 years, did all the stuff with Jerry and Andy Kaufman, of course. And I had that magic phone call from the WWE, WWF back then, of course. And they saw my tapes, Howard Finkel did. And, buddy, I was on the way to New York.
Well, you mentioned it during another Hall of Fame ceremony, as you mentioned. You were inducted in 2005, but the year before, a couple of years prior, or maybe the year before, you actually inducted your first protege up in the WWF at the time, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. I had the honor of the man I managed when I first went up there was Greg the Hammer Valentine, and so I was able to induct him in the Hall of Fame. And like I said, it's been such a great run for me. You know, I managed King Kong Bundy in Memphis, of course, and then when I went to New York, I managed him first before I tried into Bobby Heenan for Dino Bravo and Adrian Adonis. But, it's been a great run. I had managed Greg, of course, and on the first WrestleMania, and King Kong Bundy on the first WrestleMania, and then I had Jim Neidhart, of course, and then later on, about 3 months later, we added Bret Hart. That's when we formed the Hart Foundation. And then I had Jacques and Raymond Rougeau, Terry Funk, Dory Funk, Adrian Donestino Bravo. I had the wrestling referee, Danny Davis. I had, of course, the Rougeau brothers, Jacques and Raymond, the Honky Tonk Man, Earthquake and Typhoon. Then, of course, ended up with Brutus and Hulk at WrestleMania, I think 9 or 10. I forget which one now. But, I've just been so blessed.
Number
every day
9.
I look in the mirror. Yep, every day I look in the mirror and go, my gosh, did I really get paid for doing this?
Well, we actually, I guess about a month and a half ago, we actually talked to one of your proteges who you mentioned there, Typhoon, who's also a Tampa area boy.
Absolutely.
What a wonderful, sweet man that guy is.
He is phenomenal. He really is.
We still talk to him off the air currently. We always get messages from him. So I think you can meet a nicer guy there.
He's great. I just saw him about 3 weeks ago when I was up in New Jersey. People brought me up. It was me, Tom Pritchard, Diamond Dallas Page, and Paul Bearer.
Kiss the characters, that's for sure.
It was a great time. We really did. And we're going to be, matter of fact, this next weekend I'll be in Canada, and then I'm in Rhode Island the next day. Following week, I'm doing a thing called Metal Fest in California. So, we're always keep bouncing around, buddy, keeping that dream alive.
There you go. Well, obviously you mentioned the Hall of Fame and WrestleMania and all coming up. We know it's going to be up in New Jersey, New York this year, up at the Bud Light Stadium, and the Hall of Fame's actually going to be at Madison Square Garden. Are you kind of disappointed the actual WrestleMania is not going to be at the Garden?
Well, it's all about the Benjamins, and not really, and I'll tell you why, because they want to give, the WWE's great, and they want to make sure all the fans have a chance to see it live that they can, and going outdoors is a good thing for them because more people have a chance to see it, which the Garden would sell out so quick. It's easy, but what does it hold, 16,000, 17,000 people, where outdoors, 70 or 80,000, so it gives a lot of chance for the people to really have a chance to go to it, so not counting the pay-per-view too, so I think that the way they're putting it together is going to be phenomenal. It always is. For the last 5 or 6 years, I've always been part of all the WrestleManias. Hopefully, WWE invite me back again to be part of this one too. But we do the Hall of Fame, of course. We do the all the promotion up there for all the shows. Last year we were in Miami, of course, and then the year before that, I think we were in where was it? Orlando? No, Georgia. It was in Atlanta, and then before that, Orlando. So I've always been lucky to be part of that.
Well, do you actually have, other than the Hall of Fame induction, do you actually have a WrestleMania moment that you really enjoyed?
You know what? WrestleMania 3 was tremendous. The Hall of Fame, oh my God, unbelievable. WrestleMania 1 still is my fondest moment because if WrestleMania 1 had not been successful, we wouldn't be on the phone now. Because if that would have failed, it wouldn't be WrestleMania 29 coming up now. So that's always been the most important moment. But I've got to tell you something. The biggest thrill I've had is I just got through doing, about 7 or 8 months ago, we did a show called Legends House in Palm Springs, California. It was me, Hillbilly Jim, Hacksaw Jim Duggan, Tony Atlas, Rowdy Roddy Piper, Mean Gene, Howard Finkel, and Pat Patterson. And it was the greatest experience I've ever had. Hopefully, in the near future, WWE will figure out what they want to do with it, whether it's putting it on their own network if they put it together, or if it's maybe putting it on one of the other networks. But it was a great experience, and I hope the fans have a chance to really watch it.
Oh, just the list of names you mentioned with this Legends House, it sounds like you guys probably had so much fun just sitting around and telling stories and just, I don't know what that went on there, but
well, it was a lot more than that.
Very interesting.
Yeah, it was a lot more than just sitting around telling stories. That's it's. I can't really tell you everything about it, but I promise you this: wherever it gets on, when it gets on, it's going to be unbelievable. the WWE Universe is really going to love this because it's really different. It's not like all the other reality shows you see. It's not scripted. Everything came from the heart, and it's just, I can't tell too much more about it, but it is unbelievable.
Definitely. Well, we actually just recently heard, and it's actually known obviously by the fans, that you're involved with Hogan's latest project with the Beach Store, correct?
Well, not really. I did a couple of personal appearances there. Every time Hulk's always call, we've been friends for over 30 years from Memphis days on, when they were the Boulder brothers down there, him and Brutus. But when he calls me to go help, I always run over to try to help. We've got a couple other side projects we're working on. Matter of fact, something, too, that I just started, I've always kind of stayed away from Twitter because sometimes it's so controversial, and I always want to kind of tell the truth and try to always answer everything. But we just started something. It's Real, R-E-A-L, Jimmy Hart. And there's been 3 or 4 Twitter things out there that have been kind of bogus and not me. And so if anybody wants to get a hold of us, it's Real, R-E-A-L, Jimmy Hart, So if they'll get a hold of us, we'll be more than happy to yell back at the fans and everything else. But it's something I was wanted to do for a long time, but just really never did. And I'm glad we did it.
Nice. Do you got any upcoming appearances that you want to plug as well?
Well, you know what? Like next week, I'll be in Canada for a personal appearance, and the next day, Rhode Island. Then also the following week after that, Metal Fest. I'll be with Metal Fest, which is going to be in California out there. So a lot of heavy metal groups on that. And, that's just keep it on every weekend, man. We're out rocking and rolling, doing something, man, keeping the dream alive.
Nice. That's beautiful. Jimmy, I appreciate you taking a couple minutes to touch base, and hopefully we can touch base with you again as it gets closer to WrestleMania for sure.
Well, we love you, man.
Talk more Mania stories.
Yeah, don't forget Sal Correnti's big thing, of course, coming up during WrestleMania time in New York. It's going to be the one, the only Bruno Sammartino, and not Spice of the Spice Girls, but Spice of the Nitro Girls. And, I'd like to,
you got tongue-tied earlier.
I know, but you know what? Everybody always says this about wrestling, and I have a saying that I always said: we don't quit wrestling because we get old. We get old because we quit wrestling, and that's like anything. Once you sit back and quit doing what you do, that's what kind of makes you kind of lounge around. But just remember what Jimmy Hart told you: we don't quit wrestling because we get old. We get old because we quit wrestling. So what it means: keep in shape, keep the dream alive. Love you, brother. Thanks for having me on, okay?
Jimmy, thank you so much.
All right, buddy.
Talk to you soon.